Welcome to this special edition of the D.E.P with Ongama. We are out at the Eve of Parliament reception that is hosted by the British High Commission in South Africa at the private residence of the High Commissioner to South Africa. It's an amazing event here. We've got amazing guests that are coming, that are waving, and it's going to be nice. Next up, I'm talking to the head of the Economic Mission about opportunities that are coming between South Africa and the UK in terms of investments. Stay tuned. Welcome to this special episode of the D.E.P with Ongama, where we discuss development, economics and politics in the continent of Africa. Today I'm excited to host Mike Foster, who is the head of the Economic Council at the British High Commission. You can correct me, please. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks. Great to be here.
What's the right title, by the way? Is it Your Excellency, Your Highness?
Absolutely not. I'm very short of excellent.
Okay.
Mike is fine.
Sure. No, thank you. Mike, you have a mission. You've had a mission in South Africa for the longest time. What are some of the key things for you about this mission that make you excited?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's important to emphasise that the scale of the economic partnership between the UK and South Africa is really important for both sides, right? So the UK is the biggest investor in South Africa. There's about 500 billion rands worth of UK investment here, and trade is also a massive thing. So this is a quarter of all the trade the UK does with the whole continent is with South Africa. Just like half of all the investment we have in the whole continent is right here in this country. So it's incredibly important for us, but it's also really important for South Africa as well. There's, tens of thousands of South Africans directly employed by UK companies here. So it's a relationship that really matters for both sides.
Yeah, so it's an exciting relationship that's gone on for centuries, actually. And are there any major companies that you are proudest about, or major economic sectors that if British companies are involved in that you are proudest about?
I mean, look, the UK companies are involved in actually a lot of areas of South Africa's economy. Obviously, we're here in Cape Town this week during Mining Indaba. There are some big UK companies involved in that sector, but actually also in the more sort of tech and telecoms type sectors as well. And a lot of the work we do is very much focused on building those economic relationships of the future, and that spans some of the work that we do with let's say South African startups in the tech sector, linking them to investment or business partners in the UK, but also back in the mineral sector, looking at let's say beyond the traditional areas, looking at those kind of minerals that are critical to the energy transition, all those kind of new technology areas as well, where those kind of old traditional sectors like mining are really crucial to building sort of the future economies of Africa as well. So I think there's a lot of history there, but also a really exciting sort of area for the future.
Yeah, so I'd like to take a deep dive in terms of these opportunities, especially that your office facilitates, or the Economic Mission as part of the broader mission. I'd like to get to that. But are you anxious at all about the trading environment in South Africa? Are you anxious about the Expropriation Without Compensation Act, for example?
So look, there's obviously been a lot of coverage in the press about different people's interpretation of what South Africa's trying to do with that expropriation bill. I'm not going to get into what different people have said on social media platforms, but look, I think it's very clear that there's a lot of UK investors committed here. There's certainly the conversations that we've had with the government. They're very clear that this is not about them trying to randomly run around expropriating assets. I was chatting to one of the government ministers last night, who was very clear that this is not about sort of seizing things arbitrarily. So look, what I can say is there are definitely some challenges in South Africa's economy. I mean, there have been for a while now. But actually, when I talk to investors, business people in Johannesburg or maybe back in London who are interested in this continent, interested in this country, actually they're pretty positive about the trajectory in South Africa right now.
Yeah, so the one thing for me about the relationship of the UK with South Africa has always been, especially since I've been engaging with the mission, say in the last 4 years, has always been this culture of mutual respect for South African national foreign policy, as well as domestic policy, where you find that if it's a prime minister visiting, the tone is being managed quite well. And I think that, I mean, as scholars in the global south, we are critical of our governments. But as soon as we observe attitudes that are undermining to the right of government to make policy autonomously, we always take exception to that. So I put you on the spot there. Thank you again for that. Again, continuing with that spirit of respecting South African policy making processes, but also the commitment that's been there. Now the exciting stuff. What does your office do as far as enabling development in the country?
Sure. So, I mean, like I would say that there are kind of pro-development elements to a lot of what we do here. I mean, just in terms of on the commercial side, the number of UK companies employing South Africans here. If you were to look at our sort of trade deal between the UK and Southern Africa, that is, very focused not just on commercial opportunities, but also it's very clearly a sort of a development-focused trade agreement. And our trade minister was here just, I think, 10 days ago, talking to Parks Tau about ways that we might revise that agreement to increase the amount of pro-development jobs that can be created. When our Foreign Secretary visited back in November, he launched a new program that's specifically geared around helping companies in South Africa export more to try and grow jobs in the country, and that's part of a wider sort of economic development sort of set of programs that we run in South Africa that generally are geared around promoting more economic inclusion. So in sort of geographic terms, they focus mostly either on the township areas or maybe the more rural areas where unemployment is particularly higher, where people are further from, let's say, economic opportunities. So if I give you a couple of examples in the rural areas, that tends to be focused largely on the agriculture opportunity. So how can we help the farming businesses that are maybe particularly job intensive to expand and sort of provide more opportunities in those areas, but also if we were to look at some of the township areas where actually a lot of the challenges are very much to do with poor infrastructure or urban planning that really mean that people struggle to access those economic opportunities. We've got a really big focus on sort of township economic development and how we work with municipalities to help connect people to jobs more.
Great, thanks a lot. You also mentioned tech, interest in technology businesses, especially startups, and linking them to investors in the UK. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some fantastic colleagues who run a program called the UK South Africa Tech Hub. And what that really focuses on is how do we help build the tech ecosystem here in South Africa in a way that's going to sort of really open up economic inclusion. So they run a number of different sort of quite exciting programs, maybe geared at helping companies raise investment so they can expand. Or what I'm particularly excited about, which is started running a few months ago, which particularly focus on businesses in townships and helps them access new markets through e-commerce, right? So one of the real challenges often for these township businesses, how do they reach enough consumers to grow and then employ more people? And actually, we've managed to build a fantastic partnership with Takealot and the UK South Africa Tech Hub that helps bring those township businesses onto their platform and just reach so many more consumers, and then they can grow, employ more people. It's really quite exciting.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So I've participated in processes of identifying businesses in furniture, in interior deco, in clothing manufacturing, in shoe manufacturing in Gqeberha, which used to be a hub for exporting globally when it comes to shoe manufacturing. So I can see how impactful tech platforms can be in harnessing that potential and exposing it to a much wider market in terms of orders that may come. How do people, relate with these opportunities? Is it a situation where only you reach out, or people can reach out to the mission?
Yeah, so typically what we would do with a program like this is we would kind of open up a kind of call to kind of basically invite people to come forward and maybe bring their business ideas, bring their existing business and apply to the program. So we like to keep it quite open. People are absolutely very welcome to approach us, but generally what we like to do is let's say keep it quite open to recruit a whole batch of kind of partner companies to work with, so that it's kind of open and fair. And then we tend to have some criteria for how we select who we think is best suited to benefit from the program. And they tend to run on windows. So we ran one a few months ago for the first cohort of this township tech program. But given the success we've had so far, I'm optimistic that we'll do another one in the near future as well.
Amazing. And in agriculture, that it goes with the same way. You issue calls, people respond, and then you provide support.
Exactly. So the particular agriculture program that we are running at the moment is focused in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, and that basically went out and looked at cast quite a broad net looking for agricultural business out there. And then in terms of the criteria used to select them, the big focus really was on, firstly, do you have the potential to grow, but more importantly, are you in a sort of a subsector that's going to create a lot of jobs? Because some kinds of farming are quite light in terms of number of jobs, where you just have large machinery, but other sort of types of agriculture really employ a lot of people, and so we focused our support on the ones that had the potential to grow, but also as they grew, they'd grow in a really job-intensive way, because that's what it's really all about, is creating jobs in that community.
Wow, thank you, sir. Any last comments from you?
I think the last thing is worth reflecting on is, we've talked about a lot of exciting things in the relationship between the UK and South Africa, but really I think 2025 is just an amazing year to take things a whole step further, right? Because with South Africa hosting the G20 presidency here, it's just, I think, a real opportunity for this country to show the world like what a fantastic amount of opportunity and excitement there is here, and I'm really hoping that as our Foreign Secretary, as our Chancellor, as our Prime Minister comes out here for the G20 meetings, we'll also get an opportunity to really elevate that relationship between the two countries to a whole other level.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you making time. And that is High Commissioner Mike Foster, who was with us and head of the Economic Mission in the UK, and you've heard the opportunities that are there, and he's excited about 2025. In fact, as stock traders would say, he's bullish about 2025, the G20, the way the relationship is starting in South Africa, with South Africa and the rest of the continent. Remember to like, subscribe and share the channel, because we want to reach a lot more people and encourage you to start growing, to focus on developing. Till next time.